You're listening to AI Prism from Seoul Economic Daily.
The Philadelphia Semiconductor Index fell 10% last week, its worst weekly drop since April 2025. Five hyperscalers are spending $770 billion US, approximately 1,141 trillion won, on AI this year, and markets are no longer sure the returns will justify it. TSMC just confirmed a $265 billion US, approximately 395 trillion won, commitment to build 12 semiconductor facilities in the United States, even at 4 to 5 times the cost of building in Taiwan. China's Moonshot AI narrowed its frontier model gap from months to weeks, but hit a hard wall on compute and power. Chinese state-owned enterprises deployed approximately 13 trillion won in equity purchases this month to defend domestic markets. It's Tuesday, July 21st. Here's why global investors are paying attention to Korea today. Tech sector volatility is now being driven by a single question: whether the largest AI infrastructure build-out in history will generate returns commensurate with the capital deployed. 5 hyperscalers have committed $770 billion US to AI this year, and a Nikkei report estimates their off-balance sheet shadow debt at $1.65 trillion US, approximately 2,455 trillion won, 8 times higher than 4 years ago, exceeding their combined on-balance sheet debt of $1.35 trillion US, approximately 1,997 trillion won. At the same time, TSMC and China's AI sector are making moves that will redraw the global semiconductor map. Here's what the numbers show. The SOX fell 10% last week, its steepest decline since April 2025, as investor focus shifted from demand to capital efficiency. Meta's shadow debt alone stands at approximately $420 billion US, 2.8 times its on-balance sheet liabilities. Alphabet's 2026 Capex is projected at $187 billion US, approximately 280 trillion won, more than double last year's figure, making its July 22nd earnings release the first major stress test for the AI build-out thesis. TSMC expanded its Arizona investment to $265 billion US, adding $100 billion US to its prior plan to build 10 wafer fabs, 2 advanced packaging facilities, and 1 R&D center. North America represented 78% of TSMC's Q2 2026 revenue versus Asia at 8% and China at 6%. Confirming that U.S. customer concentration is the primary driver of geographic expansion, despite the 4 to 5 times construction cost premium. China's Moonshot AI launched Kimi K3 with 2.8 trillion parameters, with the American Enterprise Institute assessing the frontier gap as narrowing from months to weeks. But new user signups were suspended within 48 hours due to GPU capacity constraints. Chinese state-owned enterprises, including CSC Group and Guoxin Group, deployed approximately 13 trillion won in equity purchases and repo loans this month, with 212 Shanghai-listed companies disclosing buyback plans. So what does this mean for global investors? Earlier, we said 5 hyperscalers are spending $770 billion US on AI this year, and markets are no longer sure the returns will justify it. Here's what that actually means for you. This week's big tech earnings, starting with Alphabet and Tesla on July 22nd, followed by Microsoft and Meta on July 29th, and Apple and Amazon on July 30th, are not routine disclosures. They are the first real test of whether AI Capex translates into earnings, and the market's reaction will set the tone for global tech positioning through year-end. TSMC's Arizona pivot and China's compute wall both point to the same structural conclusion. The AI race is bifurcating into a US-Taiwan hardware axis versus a Chinese efficiency track. And semiconductor allocation decisions made this quarter will have multi-year portfolio implications. 3 things to watch. Alphabet and Tesla on July 22nd. Any forward guidance on AI infrastructure returns will move the entire sector. TSMC's Q3 2-nanometer revenue ramp. Management designated Q3 as the growth acceleration quarter, and actual contribution data will clarify whether U.S. construction cost dilution is temporary or structural. And further SOE equity deployment in China. The 212-company buyback count and the CSRC roundtable both signal active floor management. Watch for whether this expands into a broader policy-backed stabilization program. That's today's AI Prism Global Investors. This episode was produced with AI assistance based on Seoul Economic Daily reporting and reviewed by a human editor. AI Prism is a Juan Ifra award-winning series. We'll be back tomorrow.
You've been listening to AI Prism from Seoul Economic Daily.